I'm going to briefly activate now the Futurotheque that I've created with Leonieke Verhoog. And I'm gonna wave my hand. And as I said, it's it is a sort of fictional app store with all kinds of apps that we are going to be seeing through our heads-up displays in the next 10 years, when we are going to be wearing devices like this. And of course, it's not sure if we are going to be wearing them. So that was one of the first things we wanted to check with you, because there seems to be the same situation right now that we had in 1999. If you at that time asked people, do you have a mobile phone or a smartphone, didn't even exist, and people were quite clear, no, of course not. You're not having a smartphone, not a mobile phone. And if you ask people about their plans to buy an augmented reality wearable, this is an old HoloLens, they're saying the same things, like, I don't need them, I don't want them, they're too expensive. And nowadays also, some of them are really big, like this one I'm wearing now. They're handy. You can see things that are relevant when you actually need them, but when there's nothing to do, you're not going to wear a device like this, for sure. But there are going to be, there are going to be more subtle models. I'm going to show one. These are called smart glasses, and of course, a lot of the problems that people have with big devices are solved with these tiny smart glasses. There's no camera included, so people they don't have the argument that they find it problematic that you're using them. So that is definitely going to change a lot in the public acceptance of these devices. So, but I think at this moment it would be good to have a quick poll or some remarks, because I'm just curious to hear these remarks about, like, are people, do you think for yourself you would want to wear a device like this, and on what criteria would it depend? Are there some people that want to react on that?
I'll react. I saw, like, the Google glasses, like, when they came out, I did think, are they going to be cool, or is it just going to be really distracting to have something like in your field of vision just permanently there buzzing at you? And my friend got an Apple Watch recently, and I tried it on for a day, and I just kept getting notifications all the time, and it was totally overwhelming. Like, I feel like I would be overwhelmed by wearing the smart glasses you're wearing right now.
Yeah, all right. And are there some more reactions?
They look cool, though.
Well, I mean, we're already all completely overwhelmed by our smartphones, right? I mean, we have the attention span of a puppy, probably. So it's not that much of a leap. And I see already that there are very cool, like, design possibilities. So if you get a good designer, this might actually work.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Those are some of the things people are curious about. Like, how well are the designs? How much information is this device going to present? And I think, of course, there's this perspective from a user point of view, like, what do I want with the device? But there's also, of course, also the other perspective, which is the business perspective, that these big tech firms, they want us to be wearing these for various reasons. So maybe eventually we will be wearing them because some of the problems will be solved. And then, of course, it becomes an issue when people are going to wear them on the streets, in meetings and whatever. But I think these are the two different ways to look at this. And that's important to realize, that not everything is about these personal experiences. It's also about how we as a society are going to be dealing with this. But yeah, from a personal perspective, of course, you're going to be thinking, okay, I don't want too much. I want to be able to live my life the way I did it. A bit of enhancement, okay. So it then becomes a matter of configuring your device to work the way you want it. And that's why we created the Futurotheque, and it's now an installation that is a view at the Dutch Nederlands Film Festival, and it's an interactive installation where you're going to be asked 100 questions about what do you actually want with this device. For example, I'm now viewing it for to-dos, but maybe I don't want these to-dos to be in my face all the time. So maybe I want them to disappear and reappear when they're relevant. But when are they relevant? I mean, is it up to the device to decide, or do I want to decide what's relevant myself? It's these questions that are very interesting to think about. And in the end, it ends up as almost programming your own device to do what you want. And I think that is one of the things we discovered during our research as well, that there are many things to configure, and we are now in the middle of finding out what people actually want. And whatever people say, we try to include it in the Futurotheque. So the next time we make a next version, we can do things with it. I'm gonna skip to the next year, because I said in 2021 we are going to be seeing glasses without a camera, so there's no nobody should have a problem with that. But of course, there's soon going to be a camera with it, and companies are going to say, "Oh yeah, privacy is fine, and you can be sure that it's okay." But and please activate the camera, because the opportunities and the features are going to be so much better when you activate the camera. For example, in this situation, when my camera is on, it could detect that I'm now at home, I'm talking at a webcam, and that means that it can do a lot more for me. It can analyze things, it can analyze you, it can analyze faces. So it's going to absorb so much data that's very useful to enhance my life, but it's also, it's a leap more data compared to what we are giving big tech right now. We are clicking like if we like something, but in the future, these likes are going to be just extracted from us automatically. So it's clear why Facebook and other companies are very desperate in trying to find ways to make us want these devices. And actually the news this week was that Facebook is now launching an AR device even without the visuals. And that is an interesting thing, a bit unexpected. I was actually personally expecting a device without a camera, but with just the visuals. But that also may say something about the state of AR this time. To actually make it useful, you need to have this understanding of the world that is so complicated that maybe the technology is not right. And so I think all these big tech firms are trying to save themselves a failure, like with Google Glass. Of course, they're very careful not to repeat the same thing. And for Facebook, I wonder how many people are actually going to be buying a device that has a camera and has no visuals. I guess it depends on how much audio support you get. But it's a very interesting step, and we were very glad to see that happening just in the week before we were launching the Futurotheque. So maybe it's time to go to another year, because the AR we know right now is very much oriented at things that appear and that we can interact with, and there are some explanations on a tool or a machine, but this is going more into the direction of analyzing everything and recognizing things, storing things. In this case, I think devices are going to be first anonymously scanning faces and just giving you information about people in front of you. So they're not doing face recognition, really. They're not infringing any privacy things, but still, some people will see things that other people won't see. And that maybe gives you a benefit in communication with other people. So these devices are really standing in between us and the world around us. And the world around us, that's material, buildings, streets, whatever, and people.
Sander.
The interesting.
I've got a question.
Yeah, I am. Thanks. Yeah, please interrupt.
Yes. So they're scanning the world around you, but it's not a privacy violation. Surely, even if they're not doing anything with that data, what are they doing with that data? And that's something that's an important question, right?
Very much, yeah, and it's also very relevant to think of the them. I mean, who is going to be analyzing the data? And of course, you can think of a situation where you're analyzing thing and you're uploading, and people might think that their whole life is going to be uploaded, but of course that is not going to happen. That would require so much data that's impossible. But what is possible is to just upload anything that is within your field of vision, as a text oriented scanning process, and that gives you very interesting opportunities. You become a sort of searchable self. You can, for example, search yourself and think, okay, what was that specific book I saw when the weather was nice and I was in a group of people, about 10, and one of them was wearing a red shirt. I mean, if everything is recorded, then if you master a good query language, you can query your whole life. It's recorded as images, not as real images, but as time-stamped occurrences of items. And that's also maybe the moment when you can upgrade yourself with better vision recognition libraries. So there's going to be a huge business model there for people to upgrade themselves with better vision. And also you need to probably buy more storage to keep all this data. The thing when it's not just about becoming an sort of enhanced human is when people are going to be modifying their AR glasses. So for example, when you have rooted your device successfully, like we did in the past with our iPhones, you had these tricks to unlock them and root them with Android phones. That's a practice, but it means that you can do whatever you want. So even when as a society we say, oh yeah, we have rules, and we can say, okay, face recognition not allowed, and we can be strict in what's possible. If people are going to root their devices and just access apps from a Chinese app store, what's happening then? So that is one of the things we discovered in our Futurotheque, that we think you cannot solve everything with technology in this new field. This may be, there needs to be some kind of AR commons that you define for yourself, where you say, okay, I'm going to be using my device in a proper way, and people approaching me can know that, because I'm going to make sure that apps I'm going to install are fine. I'm going to be updating them. So maybe, I would like to just pull the reactions on that. Do you think that this new development is going to be a technical challenge, or is this something that is going to be a social challenge that we can do with a sort of a bottom-up approach? Like it started a bit with Google Glass, that at least people were taking them off when they were, for example, having a dinner with each other, because there was no way still at that time to switch off the camera. You really had to disable the device. But if you can trust the device and if you can trust the person, would you be willing to solve these things in that way? That only urgent messages maybe can appear on the screen, but not all the other stuff. What are your reactions on this?
I think it's going to be the problem is there'll always be etiquette. I mean, it's etiquette not to spit. People do it all the time. There will be a lot of breaking the rules. Taking camera shots. When you're not meant to, stuff like that. So I don't buy it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you think even though if you would try to organize it that way, it would actually mean that we are having a different situation then.
I mean, also there'll be the kind of cultural differences. It may be in certain places it's fine, and other. I think it's a big problem. I know me and Linda were having a discussion in the chat about is it the same as Google Timeline? Go on, Linda. I know you want to say something.
Yeah, well, I was thinking that maybe, the Google Timeline was just about being able to tag your surroundings, but maybe this is this concept of like an AR etiquette is not that different from what's happening now with the Ring doorbells, right? So it's already a social thing to either have such a doorbell and be totally okay with it recording all the time, recording all your neighbors, or being kind of opposed to it. And I think it differs mostly between people who actually know that that's happening and know what the implications of that are. So they know the Ring doorbell is constantly recording, but also sending those images to a whole network of computers. And the same would be the case for the thing you're now wearing, Sander. If we really understand what all the social implications are, then of course we can have, or we will actually naturally develop some etiquette around it. But if we don't know it's constantly recording or whatever the impacts are, then we won't, probably.
Yeah. Well, that brings me to this other thing that we are thinking. Maybe these devices are going to be too complicated. I mean, a doorbell that's at a fixed position, that's recording people that come within a sort of area, okay, that's fine. But if you really look at all the apps that people might install, like maybe apps that detect things around them, that maybe gives them advice, that maybe even gives them things to say at the right time. And what if these apps are coming from doubtful sources, if they're not working at certain crucial times? I mean, this is going to be an ICT project that's so complicated, and then that is going to be something that's happening for everybody. So that really makes us worry a bit. And I'm talking about I'm talking about Leonieke Verhoog, and unfortunately she is not at this moment here, but she will be joining the session too. So we had a lot of these discussions about this, and also we've been talking to experts. And for example, Ian, we had a really good chat a few weeks ago to also prepare the launch of our Futurotheque system, and we really ended up with a lot of these questions.
I'm not a stooge, by the way. I'm not a stooge.
Yeah. But the thing with the Futurotheque, for us, it means it helps to now address these issues in a way and make it very visual. I mean, you can perhaps almost imagine that I'm now wearing this device and I'm totally not getting how to configure and install it. So we hope that is the added benefit of this tool. And yeah, to talk about these issues at this moment is also a good moment, I think, because it's not there yet. I mean, we're not massively wearing these devices yet, so this is still the time to think of the conditions that we need in order to do this right. So that's also one of the aims of this project. And even more below that, our aim is, of course, we personally, me as an artist, I just love augmented reality because it offers you so much opportunities to create things in the world around you, but also to script people and make them actors in this global stage. I mean, that can be a very interesting thing. But if people always say, oh no, AR, that's scary, I don't want it, then that's not going to happen. So we also have a sort of hidden agenda to let it happen right. But let's move on to an extra year. As said, configuring your device can be a disaster. But let me try. Yeah. So we were thinking about this. You don't want to configure each app all the time individually. So maybe it would be good to have specific profiles where you say, okay, whatever Cory Doctorow configured, I'm doing the same. So it's like following each other's configurations. And it's not just about privacy. It's about all these apps. Like, what do you want to see during a day? Is there a moment when you stop working? What is important? What kind of notifications do you want to have? So it would be great to have these sort of default profiles. And then, of course, you can think maybe there could be one, like a government-provided profile, a sort of certification where you can say, okay, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm buying this device and I'm setting it to a sort of standard. And I know that it's right because a government has at least checked certain things and said, yeah, this is proper. And that's the thing I would like to drop here also as a question. Is there is there a need for like something in between us as users and Silicon Valley? I mean, how are we going to arrange this with regulations, or are we going to help people to configure their device? What kind of role should regulators be playing right here?
It's such an interesting question. Really interesting question. I was just going to say, yes, I think there does need to be something in there in between. I think that when you were describing the previous examples, I was thinking, yes, this would be great. I would love to be able to remember what film someone recommended to me like a couple of days ago, because my memory is absolutely terrible and I just forget those things.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to be able to record all of that. But the privacy implications are ridiculous. I would love that, but I also don't want people to capture footage of me in an embarrassing aisle of the pharmacy. You know, I don't want people to know that, you know, I'm buying certain products or doing certain things. It feels like we are still just about in an age where we have the luxury of loose anonymity in various public spaces, and that privacy being a human right thing feels like this is has a potential to absolutely explode the possibilities for infringing on people's privacy, as well as being really cool and like beautifully created. So yeah, I definitely think we need some regulatory oversight here.
Yeah, because I think you agree, and I agree with you that this is something else. This is there are more implications when you're wearing this camera outside compared to when you're picking a phone from your pocket and doing something. There's this radical new there's this wave of new opportunities, and people are going to be using them. So we really need to rethink some of the these things, of course, or maybe solve them in such a way that we feel confident about them.
Yeah,
I would like to skip one more year. This is something that we talked with Ian about. This is another perspective that is a bit worrying. That at one point, maybe in 2028, you can imagine that so many people are wearing these devices, and also you're helped with them when you're going somewhere. That there might even be places that say, you cannot enter anymore without one. We need to be able to access your API. We need to be able to control you in a very direct way. We want to be controlling your behavior. You have these things now in shops that you're becoming an employee. You have to click the machine. You have to press buttons. So maybe a situation like that will happen in more locations where you have to have the right updated API to be going somewhere. And that is when, Ian, you were quite clear about that. You said, well, that's not okay. And then we said, okay, so maybe that can only be applicable for the fun things. And you say, no, even the fun things should be accessible for everybody, right?
Yeah, I mean,
but then you also want to.
It's got to be. You can't just go, well, you know. I mean, like, the fact is that these things will cost money, and even if they give them away, I just think that this. It can't be you remove things or block access unless if you haven't got this device. It just can't be.
No, but that means you can then go in two directions. You can either say, okay, that's not allowed. We should make things that are open for everybody, or maybe you should be providing like government supported glasses for people that can't afford their own. So you have this this solution in that way. Is that something you would imagine? That because some things are just, I mean, if I'm creating an app for this device, which is fun, and if people don't have the device, they can't access it. Should I then say, okay, I can't make it? I mean, in 2028, that's hardly possible. So then you have people that have no device, but they want one. How to solve that?
I think that's a question for the rest of the panel. I know what my thoughts are.
Is there somebody that wants to react? Do we have a government-provided AR wearable in 2028.
With really thick glass frames and it doesn't run quite as fast.
Yeah, but we don't. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, we don't
If-
provide
if-
smartphones now. We don't provide the internet as a public service, and we don't provide
No.
any digital technology. And we
Well-
we provide a very, very little when you think about it. Like,
That's true, but we do provide access to, for example, libraries that have internet access and stuff like that.
All
So,
right, yeah.
in
so there's
some areas,
a
yeah,
base
lucky.
level. Yeah.
So maybe
depending
a,
on where you
a
are.
shared pair of glasses. That would be a good solution, where you can go to the library. Hey, there's Leonieke. Welcome.
Hi.
Thanks for joining. Yeah.
It's
Sorry,
too
a bit
long. Oh no.
I'm briefly going to update you. We're in the year 2028, and we've already addressed a lot of these very interesting issues. But maybe this is a good moment for you to introduce yourself briefly as a collaborator on this this project of ours.
For me, oh, sorry. Sorry, I'm totally wet from the rain and just arrived. I have to get into it. But yeah, I work together with Sander on the Futurotheque experience and also at PublicSpaces. So try to fight for the internet of the common, for the common. And yeah, that's the shortest version. Let's just stick to that for now.
Yeah, we were just having a discussion about the inclusiveness and the issues there. Some things really require you to have this device. Yeah, what to do then? But maybe it's good to skip one more year to go to 2028.
And Sander, I was thinking about your question. Will they ever be like mandatory government supplied? And I was thinking maybe glasses are such an intimate product that will never be the case. That it will be provided by the government. Definitely in libraries, definitely in a public space. Those are places where it could happen. But like seeing a democratic government providing all their citizens with specific objects that they need to carry with them at all times, I fortunately don't see that happening very soon.
Okay, well that is an interesting thing to say right now. I mean, we're almost now in this story in 2029. I mean, there is going to be this new reality that requires you to be able to see digital things. So if you're it's like being disconnected from the internet in 2020. For some people, if you're fully disconnected, then yeah, you're missing quite a lot. But yeah, you're right. It's an intimate thing. Although there's also this talk about maybe lenses, and as you can see with Facebook, they solved it with a camera device and a pair of earbuds. Which would not be so bad to have these government-provided stuff. So at least you can trace where the data is coming from, where it's going to, and maybe from that point, give it to companies that do something with it. So you can actually shop for scripts and libraries and sort of extend them, extend your hardware with them. That would make it even the whole structure would be organized in a different way. But I'm very curious. Therefore, it's also nice to be recording this and thinking about this. And let's talk again in 2029. I have no clue where that is all going. The thing I'm now showing on my screen, it's a bit related to once again to this aspect of configuring yourself. You can imagine that if you've been collecting data for 10 years, then yeah, that gives a lot of insights in what you do, what you like, what is your behavior. And of course, this device is trying to analyze you to give you the best help, tips, suggestions. But yeah, that made us think, if you want to restart with building up that profile in another cloud, then you would have to start from scratch. So you will probably not do that, and you will miss 10 years of information. So it's also important in 2029 that you can sort of switch to another provider, and that you have the insight in what is actually happening to you. What are the tools and scripts that are giving you the information in your heads-up display that guide you through life. And that may be also that could be an opportunity, of course, to also work on like open source public scripts, or maybe even government provided things, opposed to the black box things that are now being launched on us by Silicon Valley. So it's not just about providing intimate hardware to people. It could also be taking the form of providing the right software. Would that be something that a government could be working on, or would it be more going towards the direction of regulating and specifying the requirements?
I think that would be a positive thing, and that's something that I would imagine a government, I would like a government to do, because it's meant to be looking out for everybody, not just the people who can afford, or the people who can. I made a point to Katja about being able to buy your way out. So the government regulated glasses will act a certain way. Well, I don't want that, so I'm going to buy myself my own glasses, which will go around those rules. I don't think that's a thing that should happen. I think if these rules are set and they're good for society, then they should apply, no matter how much money you get. But we already know that doesn't happen with the tax havens and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah, and also sounds a little bit similar as the questions that were asked to people about mobile phones, right? Like 10 years ago, or maybe 15, and people said, no, it will never happen. And now you have to use your mobile phone to do the government stuff, and also your tax and everything. So for now, it might be something from the future, but as you say, Linda, in the chat, it's not that long. 10 years.
I think if we skip to the last year, we come to a bit of a fun thing that we have been thinking about. Maybe that could be the moment to undo all this stuff. And then we spoke to a scientist that said, "Oh yeah, that's an illusion. After using AR for 10 years, your brain has been changed so much you won't be able to do so." But still, for now, it's 2020. You can go in this future scenario, this speculative future scenario, and still undo. And that is also what we want with our Futurotheque installation, that you sort of a very personal way experience what options you are going to choose. And by choosing all these things that seem to work fine for you, and you think, oh yeah, great, then in the end you might end up in a situation that's not what you want. But fortunately, you have the opportunity to do it all again, which is to. There's this other way of looking at it is we are now still very physical beings, and whatever we do is always leaving physical traces. And you can imagine that in 2030, if there's this trained AI simulation of you could even send your sort of virtual copy to places and brief your virtual appearance and get a briefing back when or debriefing when your character went somewhere. And you could even say, oh, if it wasn't very successful, maybe the other attendees of an event would also not mind to erase, to undo things. But that is part of the Futurotheque story at the end. But I think we have now went to a lot of these years, and in the beginning I asked, okay, how many of you would want to have these devices? And there were some criteria. And I'm now curious, that did our session so far give you another perspective on this? Is there somebody that has changed his or her mind radically? Yeah.
I feel like quite exhausted even just thinking about all of this stuff. Like, okay, it has been a long day, but this is so complex. And you said at one point, like, this feels like a different category of thing. It's not just a mobile phone, even though Cornelia is correct in the chat to say that we are carrying around, tracking devices all the time in our mobile phones. This does feel like another level, like the quantity and detail of data that would be collected by carrying around a camera that's always being filmed, or things that are really collecting all this data. It just feels like it would be such a massive conversation, and I would rather probably just like go to the beach with you all and chill out than like have that conversation.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right, and that is the thing here. That's also what we noticed, that actually to think about this and to get this right, you need so many different perspectives on this. You have the technology and the possibilities there, but also the possibilities to regulate this, but also the to think about your mind. What is actually changing, and what do you actually want? What is your autonomy? Do you want to have a device that always tells you what you want? Maybe that's not what you want.
Also, so the energy it takes to render all this information and show it and share it with everybody.
Yeah.
So many topics, too. But
it is true. It is a very complicated thing. Therefore, we are using this now as a sort of tool to get in touch with all these different kind of experts and scientists to have this conversation about this in multiple ways. So that helps us a lot. But it is very complicated. But maybe you agree that there is this big chance that this is going to be our future. So we'll have to be talking about this, and maybe it's best to do it right now instead of 10 years too late. Almost like what we did with the internet. We are now starting to rethink and try to fix things that are so deeply part of people's life that it's very difficult to change. So maybe we're still in time, and that maybe that could save us even time to address things now instead of addressing things that are way more complicated in 10 years time.
I mean, I agree. I agree that we should be addressing them now, because I think that's one of the problems with Google Glass, is that it just kind of got launched on the world, and everyone was like, "Oh wow, they're jumping out of planes, and how cool would that be?" And then the reality kicked in when people were wandering around with them, and walking into bars and stuff, and suddenly it was like, whoa, that's not what I wanted. We needed to have that discussion, because it takes a little while for society to appreciate or to understand the harms. I'm sure everyone, when they saw them jumping out of the plane, was like, I want one of those. That's amazing. Oh, it's too expensive, but I would love one of those. And then as soon as they started seeing the stories, it was like, nope, this isn't really bad. Don't like it at all.
Yeah. Well, there's also this scientist we talked to, and she will be in the. Oh, sorry. She will be in the panel tomorrow as well. She's from the all these technical problems already in 2020. What about 22? But no, we talked to Nana Verhoog. She's a professor in screens and society in the future as well. And she said maybe it's not about undoing the whole situation, but redoing. And I agree with Mr. NGI Policy Summit that we should go to the beach all together. That would be undo. But I think we can, by discussing and by talking and by creating artwork like this, hopefully we can think about ways that we can design the future that we would like. Be hopeful about it, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is really useful for people to see and experience, and then really think about. This is one of the beautiful things about art, is that you could talk about it in abstract, but when people actually have this thing with this Sander with these massive glasses, the camera pointing directly at you, with all these stats, you're like, whoa, okay, I don't know if I like this anymore. I don't think this is such a good idea. You know,
Yeah.
I think it's those kind of things that really kind of move the conversation on from the abstract.
Yeah, exactly.
Agreed.
All right.
Sander,
Yes.
would you like to offer the people here the similar face filters that we have on our head?
We're thinking this discussion is great, and we could talk on for hours, but maybe we could spend these last few minutes on on just explaining a bit how this works, because it could be fun for you to explore this yourself. So for now, thanks for joining, and those that want to be in a session with some filters, there's a few things you need to do. The first thing is, for this filter, you need a program. It's called a Snap Camera. It's a commercial program. It's the Snap company. It's launching it, but young kids know it from the Snap app. But the fun thing with these filters is that with Snap Camera, you can have these filters within any kind of video conferencing session, also this one. So when you have the Snap Camera, you can, of course, pick the usual stuff. It's best known for funny ears, and maybe I can, let's not try. But, things like this, we know all that. But there's a lot more possible. Like, you can actually tell a whole story, like we did in the Futurotheque, where you're experiencing something that takes about 10 minutes. You can do other AR stuff like this robot. So you can browse this big library of effects, and it can really enhance your Zoom session. If you want to have some privacy, that's possible, things like that. So it's a snap filter, and what you can do is, Leonieke is showing the hashtag, the Futurotheque. We'll make sure that on Twitter, on the Futurotheque hashtag, we're going to be pointing you to the right link, and then you can use the link to that specific filter and then add it in your Snap Camera search field, or search for Futurotheque, and you can browse some of the things we've created. So when that's done in your video conferencing program, you have to find the camera icon and there click Snap Camera when it's running instead of your default camera. So it's these two steps, and it will be great to see some more people with extra effects in the next sessions. Leonieke, do we have some final questions or remarks to address here? Maybe we can even try it if somebody wants it. Sometimes it does unfortunately require a restart of either the Snap Camera. After installing it, you have sometimes to install to relaunch a browser or even a whole computer. Sometimes your screen keeps turning yellow or it doesn't work at all in 10% of cases, unfortunately. But sometimes you have better luck the next day. Who knows?
Yeah, it's maybe good to say that the filters that you created are also searchable. If you're in Snap Camera program, you can find the filters that Sander made, looking for Veenhof or looking for like the surname of Sander, or Futurotheque, and then you get these filters that we're wearing now. Might be interesting. And you also can create your own filters if you manage to control a Snap Camera yourself.
Yeah, it's created with the Lens Studio app, and there you can do all these interactive things.
Yeah. Maybe, are there any other questions?
Hey, there. Oh, I see them.
I nearly got it to work. It's not working though.
Oh, but I see a very promising color. Usually that's the error
I'm trying.
color.
I'm trying.
I'm trying, but it's not working. Let me refresh.
That's a third hand. Yeah, Sander, his female hand.
So, Leonieke, what do you think? We addressed a lot of these things
Yeah.
right now. Are there people that want to have a final say about things that we discussed so far?
I know that someone else also brought it up. If you've not seen the entire history of You, the Black Mirror episode, watch
yeah.
it. And also, I was going to say on top of that was there was something about the undo and the redo. We have to also bear in mind that some people don't have the time. They're very time poor to be able to do that, or the expertise to do that. So there's other factors which also come into play that we need to think about. So
yeah. And did you hear today? Because I think Ian, I saw you this morning already in the NGI chats passing by, and I saw you in the morning. Did you like pick something up today that you think is promising in this perspective as well? Like I saw something about people talking about thinking about public ways of communicating as well and stuff like that. But did you see any trends today already?
I might have. I can't remember. I've kind of like. There's a lot that's kind of happened. It's been packed full of stuff, so I'll have to go back through my notes.
Okay, sorry to put you on the spot like that. Yeah,
I feel like I'm a stooge. I'm not a stooge. I just kind of wandered into the session.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Well, the session just before your session, Thomas Schep actually walked us through his project where he combines all these different algorithms into like very denominated, if that's the word, algorithm. So it checks your BMI and it checks your gender and it checks your happiness rate and all these things. And of course, if you combine these two things together, you have well, either depending on your opinion, a very scary product or a very useful product. So maybe you should have a chat with him.
Yeah, for sure. We know each other, so yeah, that's a good idea. Just keep creating these kind of disturbing things to make people think, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. The thing that struck me is about the digital divide and how literally it feels like in every direction, it's not just that we've gone, okay, there are our next set of innovations are just going to be another gradual step where the digital divide gets a little bit worse. I feel like maybe it's just my perspective, but at the moment I've seen a ton of different technologies where each one could represent a huge leap in making the digital divide significantly worse. And this is a really good example where if there is half the population wandering around with the entire, their entire life being recorded and all of the information they need literally in their eyes, all just available at the tips of their eyeballs, and everyone else is like, oh God, how am I going to get in touch with this government service, or how am I going to engage with these people? It's like having a personal assistant with you all the time, permanently, that just can give you all the information you need. And that is such a significant step towards
digital divide.
Yeah, exactly. That it's quite scary.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so it's good to discuss it and think about how to bridge that gap, probably.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Okay.
All right. I think we need to wrap up here. It's almost it's almost 7 o'clock. I'm very glad about you joining and having this lively discussion. This is exactly what we are hoping for with our project. And so thanks a lot for all the input and the thoughts that you shared with us. And we are definitely going to follow closely what's going to happen the next few years, and let's look back at this in 10 years' time and think how we're doing at that time.
How naive we all were.
Yeah, even we. Yeah. True.
Maybe we should be naive and think, oh yeah, this is all going to be fine. Just go for hands-on solutions and try to make the best of it.
Or just go to the beach
Right.
altogether.
Yeah, beach
Or
time.
just go to the beach. Thank you so much. This has been really fun. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Ciao. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. How did you leave? Oh, there you go.
You were at the beach.
Ja, ja. Ja.
Oh, come
That's
on.
kind of funny.
Er zijn nog 8 luisteraars, maar ik ga
Oh ja.
afsluiten.
Let's leave. Yeah.
Dankjewel. Bye bye.
Bye bye.